At this point, just about anybody planning accommodations for a trip is going to be comparing the two big options, a hotel and an Airbnb. While some travelers have a hard preference for one or the other, most folks are just looking for the best value, and one factor makes that determination: the number of required beds. Let me explain. Simply put, you aren't going to have more than 2 actual beds in one hotel room outside of the very rare occasion. You may be able to squeeze in a rollaway if your hotel provides them, but not all do. What this does is make hotels cost prohibitive for anyone needing more than 2 beds. You'll simply have to buy another room, which makes it impossible to bring costs lower than a 50-50 split. On the other end, we have Airbnb, who's renting out entire homes and apartments, and while places with more beds have a higher cost on average, that cost plateaus at a certain point and is always going to be cheaper than booking multiple hotel rooms. For example, I pulled together the average cost of an Airbnb for a 6-night trip to Mexico City based on the number of required beds and guests. These averages were based on the first 60 listings when the query was pulled. At first, the results seem fairly obvious. The more beds and guests, the higher the cost, but it gets more interesting when we look at the per person costs. As you can see, the per person costs are tightly bunched and really reasonable. Moreover, the point to take away here is that beyond 2 beds, your per person cost goes down, and that just doesn't happen at hotels. To compare, the average cost of a hotel room for the same dates is $715, and you can of course multiply that to get to whatever number of beds you need. This very obviously exceeds the cost of an Airbnb by quite a bit for those accommodating larger parties. It would also be useful to note that the average price isn't really a set cost you'd pay. It only represents the middle set of prices, meaning accommodations can be found for cheaper or run you more based on your personal requirements. Where it might make sense to pick a hotel over an Airbnb is for people looking for 1 to 2 beds. The average cost for these folks isn't significantly higher, and I certainly saw some well-rated hotels for even cheaper than the lower-end average cost of $480. So to conclude, if you need 3 or more beds, you should really only be looking at an Airbnb. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see more videos about itinerary building, please comment below.